welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, the language of closeness. Our source material is this really interesting guide to conversational English, but it's specifically for friends and family.
Right.
So this isn't about, ordering a coffee or talking to a stranger.
Not at all. It's a toolkit, really, designed to help move your relationships beyond just surface chat.
Exactly, a multi-level toolkit. That's the goal. We want to give you practical ways to go from simple check-ins, the basics, right up to handling some pretty sophisticated dynamics.
And it's true, talking to people you know well, people you love, it feels more relaxed, more informal on the surface.
Yeah, totally.
But the skills underneath, they're actually highly complex. Empathy, navigating conflict, being vulnerable, it takes work.
So our mission here is to pull out those natural, simple phrases and approaches that genuinely build that connection. Make it feel, well, authentic.
Precisely. We'll break it down. We'll start with the foundation, the everyday stuff, then move into adding depth storytelling, support, and finally, tackle sophistication subtext, values, boundaries.
Okay, let's get started. Segment 1, the foundation. Daily rituals, simple plans, right? The absolute basics. The daily check-in. It sounds so simple, maybe even trivial.
But it's not, is it? It's like the relational glue.
Yeah. And with friends and family, we often skip the really formal, how are you?
We do. It's more like, how's it going? Or, what's up?
Okay.
And the sources point out something interesting here. Those initial answers people give, like, pretty good, thanks, or not much, they're all kind of automatic. Almost defensive sometimes. It's like a quick signal, okay, I'm here, but maybe not ready for a super deep talk right this second.
That's insightful. So even the simplest greeting is a bit of a negotiation. Wow.
It can be, but the real conversation starter, the one that shows you genuinely care, often comes next.
Which is?
How was your day?
Ah, yes. That one feels different. It asks for a bit more.
Exactly. It opens the door properly. And how you answer or how you respond to their answer really sets the tone.
Our sources lay out a good range of ways to describe the day if things went well.
You might say, it was good, or add a little detail like, I had a really productive day at work. Simple, positive.
But what if it was tough? We need words for that too.
Right. Saying, it was a long day that immediately signals you're tired, maybe stressed out. You don't need to list every single thing that happened.
It implies it.
Precisely. Or you could say, it was busy, focusing on the amount of stuff, or stressful, highlighting the emotional strain.
And for just a normal, average day.
It was okay, or it was the usual. There's a comfort in that predictability sometimes.
Okay, so we've got the phrases, but you mentioned responding. That feels like the critical part.
It absolutely is. This is where the empathy comes in. If your partner or friend says, ugh, it was such a long day.
You can't just go, ugh, okay, and talk about your day.
No. You need to validate that feeling. Something like, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. And maybe offer comfort, right? Can I make you a cup of tea? Or why don't you put your feet up?
And if it's good news, they're sharing.
Mirror that excitement. Wow, that's fantastic news. Congratulations. You share the joy. That mirroring, that's what builds trust.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting from reflecting on the day to planning ahead. Making simple plans.
Yeah, another foundational skill. How do you check if someone's available? 2 key questions.
Go on.
Are you free on Saturday? Free, meaning available, of course. Or the slightly more open, what are you doing on Saturday?
And you're listening for that green light, as the sources call it.
Exactly. If they say something like, oh, I'm not doing anything special or nothing planned yet, that's basically your cue.
An invitation to make an invitation.
Yep. And then suggesting something. Keep it collaborative.
How so?
Simple phrase, let's go to the park or let's grab dinner. It feels inclusive, like you're in it together.
Okay, sounds good. But what about saying no? It's awkward sometimes. It can be. The classic advice is the sandwich method.
Explain that. You start positive, cushion the no in the middle, and ideally end with an alternative. So, oh, that sounds like fun, but there's the positive start. I'm actually really swamped on Saturday. That's the, no, maybe we could do it next weekend instead. The alternative.
The sandwich.
Yeah.
I get the politeness aspect, but does it sometimes feel a little indirect?
Yeah.
Maybe even a bit fake if you use it all the time.
That's a fair point. It can feel like that if it's not genuine. I think the key is the intent. Are you trying to deceive or just soften the blow?
Right.
If you're genuinely busy or just not feeling up to it, maybe simple, warm honesty is better sometimes. Like you suggested, I'd love to normally, but I'm honestly just exhausted tonight.
But you can't just leave it there, can you?
No, that's the crucial addition. You must suggest another time immediately. I'm busy Saturday, but how about Sunday? Are you free then? That shows you do want to see them, just not right then. It keeps the connection strong.
Okay, that makes sense. Honesty plus a concrete alternative.
All right, so once we've got those daily check-ins and simple plans nailed down, we can start adding more substance, more depth.
Which means?
Sharing more of ourselves, telling stories, sharing news, inviting people into our inner world a bit more.
And how we share news matters, right? Not just dumping facts.
Definitely. Build a little anticipation. Instead of just blurting it out, try openers like, guess what? Or maybe, you are not going to believe what happened to me today.
Creates a bit of intrigue.
Exactly. You're not just reporting, you're inviting them into an experience with you.
And for telling a slightly longer story, say about a trip or an event.
Connectors are key. You can't just list things. We went here, we saw this, we ate that. It's flat.
So you use words like?
Words that show sequence and change. At first, we were a bit lost, but then we found this amazing little cafe. Suddenly, this parade started going down the street. And in the end, it was just a perfect day. It gives the story shape and movement.
And the language itself, using stronger words.
Oh, absolutely. Ditch the weak adjectives. Instead of saying the view was nice, say it was breathtaking or stunning. If the water was clear, call it crystal clear. Paint a picture. Use language that really conveys the feeling.
You mentioned idioms earlier for feelings too.
Yes. Like feeling over the moon if you're incredibly happy, or so relieved when something difficult is finally over. Idioms add color and emotional resonance.
The sources also had a grammar tip for storytelling about tenses.
Ah, yes. This is quite effective. Using the past continuous to set the scene, the background action. Think, I was walking down the street, the sun was setting. It creates the atmosphere.
Okay, setting the scene.
And then you use the past simple for the main event, the thing that interrupts the scene. When suddenly this dog ran out in front of me, that switch in tense highlights the key action, the drama.
I see. It gives it impact. Okay, so that's sharing our own stuff. What about when someone else needs support? When they're going through something tough?
This is where we move into really deep relational territory. First, noticing something's wrong.
How do you bring it up gently?
You could try something observational and soft, like, you seem a bit down today. Down is a nice, gentle word for sad or unhappy, or the simple, powerful, is everything okay?
It's opening the door.
Exactly. Giving them permission to share if they want to, and if they do start sharing.
Then what? This is the hard part sometimes.
The absolute #1 rule. Listen, really listen, without interrupting. And resist that urge we all have.
To jump in and fix it.
Yes. We want to make the problem go away for them, but often that's not what they need first.
So what do they need?
Validation. They need to feel heard and understood. Use phrases that show you get it. Wow, that sounds really difficult. Or, I can imagine that must be incredibly stressful.
Acknowledging the feeling.
Yes. And if they're angry or frustrated about something, validating that is powerful too. You have every right to be upset about that. It shows you're on their side emotionally, not judging the situation.
But surely there comes a point where you do offer help, if it's something practical.
Of course. But usually after they feel heard. The key phrase here is simple and direct. I am here for now.
Powerful.
And you can follow it with, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Keep it open, non-pushy.
What about specific situations? Like if someone's nervous about, say, a presentation.
Offer reassurance. Don't worry, you'll be great. Or the more informal, confidence-boosting, you've got this.
Nice. And for those really big, tough situations they can't really control, like a health issue or waiting for big news.
Then you offer perspective and hope, acknowledging the difficulty but framing it in a larger context.
Like what?
You could say, I'm sure it will all work out okay in the end. Or maybe something a bit more philosophical, like the old saying, this too shall pass. It acknowledges the pain but suggests it's not permanent.
Right. Comfort through perspective. Okay, now we're moving into the really advanced stuff. The sophisticated dynamics, handling disagreements, understanding what's not being said, talking about deeper values.
Exactly. This is where communication gets really nuanced. Let's start with polite disagreements. This is vital in any close relationship.
Because you will disagree eventually.
Absolutely. And the goal isn't to win the argument, it's to express a different view while maintaining respect for the other person and the relationship.
So how do you do that?
The sources suggest a sophisticated structure. Validate first, then introduce contrast.
Give me an example.
You start with something like, I see your point about X, or I understand where you're coming from. That acknowledges their perspective.
Lowers their defenses.
Right. Then you pivot gently. But the way I see it is slightly different, or however, I'm not sure I completely agree because...
And using softeners helps too.
Definitely. Frame your disagreement as your perspective, not as universal truth. Phrases like, I'm not sure I see it that way, or I take a slightly different view on that. Using slightly minimizes the gap.
And what if you just fundamentally disagree and you're going in circles?
Ah, the mature exit strategy. Agree to disagree.
Saying it out loud.
Yes, it's a verbal signal that you value the relationship more than winning this particular point. Look, maybe we just have to agree to disagree on this one.
Before you get there, though, it's good to find common ground if possible.
Always, even in disagreement, find something you both align on. Okay, while we might disagree about the ending, we can definitely agree the special effects were amazing, right? It keeps a collaborative feeling.
Okay, let's move to subtext. Reading between the lines.
Crucial skill. It means understanding the implied message, the feeling or thought that isn't explicitly stated in the words.
The classic example has to be, I'm fine.
Oh, absolutely. Someone looks upset, you ask, are you okay? And they reply, flatly, I'm fine.
The words say okay, but everything else, tone, body language, screams the opposite.
Exactly. And you, the listener, have to infer the real meaning. You have to read between the lines.
This brings up that vocabulary point.
Yeah.
Imply versus infer.
Yes. The speaker implies, they hint, suggest, indirectly, use tone. The listener infers, they figure out the hidden meaning based on the clues. Good communication needs both.
And this indirectness, this subtext, it's used for polite refusals too, right? Beyond just saying no to plans.
Yes, like avoiding food you don't like without hurting the cook's feelings. The white lie.
Such as?
Saying something like, oh, I'm absolutely stuffed, thank you. It looks wonderful, but I couldn't eat another bite. You're implying you're full, not that you disliked it.
Or rejecting a suggestion subtly.
Right. Instead of, I don't want to watch that movie, maybe, I think I'm in the mood for something a bit different tonight. Maybe something lighter. It gets the message across without direct rejection.
Okay, moving to the really deep stuff. Values and priorities. How do we talk about big life decisions with people?
The key is shifting from advice giving to asking good questions. If a friend is considering, say, a major career change.
Don't just tell them what you think they should do.
No. Ask analytical questions that help them clarify their thinking. What's the main driving force behind this idea for you? Or what are you hoping to gain from this change?
That prompts them to talk about deeper things.
Exactly. They might start using more advanced vocabulary, talking about needing more self-expression or autonomy, or whether a job aligns with their core values.
Core values.
Yeah.
And that leads to the idea of non-negotiables. What does that mean in this context?
A non-negotiable is a fundamental principle or need that you are absolutely unwilling to compromise on in a relationship or a major life situation.
Examples.
It could be honesty in a partnership, or needing access to nature for your well-being, or maybe a certain level of financial security. Knowing and being able to articulate your non-negotiables is a huge sign of self-awareness.
And sometimes these values clash, even with people we love.
They do. Maybe a parent values security above all, while their child values creative risk-taking. You need respectful but assertive language to navigate that. Acknowledge their value. I understand why security is so important to you, but clearly state your own. But for me, right now, exploring this creative path feels essential.
It requires real maturity. Now, the sources also mention modern dynamics.
Yes, two important ones. First, the need to be really intentional about carving out time for relationships, especially long-distance ones. They don't just maintain themselves magically.
You have to actively nurture them.
You do. And second, the concept of the chosen family. This is really powerful.
Explain that.
It's the idea that your primary support system, your true family, might be the people you choose based on love, trust, and shared values, rather than just the family you were born into. It's about creating your own network of deep connection.
That's empowering. Okay, last big topic in this section, boundaries. Often talked about, maybe less often done well.
Very true. Boundaries are simply about clearly communicating what you are okay with and what you're not okay with in order to protect your own energy and well-being. It's not about being difficult, it's about self-respect.
How do you set one politely but firmly? Let's use the example of, say, relatives dropping by unannounced all the time.
Okay, you need to be clear, but frame it around your needs, not their behavior being wrong. Start positively. I absolutely love seeing you, and it always brightens my day when you pop over. Affirm the connection first.
Okay.
But the pivot, again, I've realized that with my current schedule energy levels, unplanned visits can sometimes throw me off balance a bit. Focus on your experience. For my own peace of mind and ability to manage things, it would be a huge help if we could try to plan visits in advance, even just a quick text beforehand. State the need clearly and explain the why from your perspective.
So it's not an accusation, it's a request based on your needs.
Exactly. That approach prevents resentment building up, which, as you said, is toxic for relationships. Boundaries maintain health. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow, okay. We've covered a lot of ground here. From those simple daily greetings all the way through storytelling, empathy, handling disagreements, reading subtext.
Right up to defining core values and setting healthy boundaries. It really is a journey from basic connection to deep, sophisticated understanding.
It feels like the common thread through all of it is moving beyond just surface communication to something more, well, real, more authentic.
That's the goal, isn't it? Building relationships with partners, family, close friends that feel genuine, supportive, and resilient enough to last, where you can navigate the easy and the difficult stuff together.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about the importance of empathy, listening, and also about stating our own needs, like our non-negotiables. So here's a final thought I want to leave you, our listener, with. Something to mull over. When you're truly listening, really deeply listening to a friend talk about their hopes, their challenges, their stories, what unspoken non-negotiables about their happiness, their core needs, can you perhaps infer? What are they showing you is fundamentally important to them, even if they haven't put it into words themselves?
That's a fantastic question, because sometimes the deepest understanding comes not just from what's said, but from what you sense between the lines.
Exactly. The ultimate challenge of sophisticated connection. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the information clutter and really give you the essential knowledge you need.
That's the goal.
Today, we're focusing on something maybe a bit different. It's the language that defines our closest bonds. You know, the way we talk with friends and family. Those verbal shortcuts, the daily rituals, even the complex emotional stuff we navigate.
It's that language of authenticity, isn't it? And sometimes, honestly, it feels harder to get right than all the professional jargon we learn.
Totally agree.
It absolutely is. I think the real struggle isn't, what to say in a formal meeting. It's more about keeping that genuine connection going when life gets complicated.
Right.
So our mission in this deep dive, basically, is to offer a kind of roadmap. We want to help you achieve, let's call it social fluency, across 5 levels.
5 levels, okay.
Yeah, starting with the really simple, like daily check-ins and building all the way up to discussing core values and handling tricky conflicts.
Gotcha. So we structured this to kind of walk you through that whole evolution. We'll kick off with the foundational stuff, those social rituals, but then quickly build up to the more advanced skills you need when, well, relationships need careful handling.
Exactly.
So let's start with level 1, the basics. But maybe let's look at the why behind the words, not just list phrases.
Good point. We're looking first at what you might call social lubrication, those minimal effort check-ins.
Right. Like saying, hello, how are you, to your best friend can feel weirdly formal, can it?
It feels stiff, yeah. The sources we looked at show that with close people, fluency relies on jumping straight into informality.
It's about opening a channel without making it a big deal. So with people we know well, we shift to more relaxed stuff like, how's it going? Or even just, what's up? And the answers are key too, right? The analysis mentioned that if someone answers, what's up, with not much, it's not necessarily an invite for a long story.
Exactly. It's more like a quick signal. Relationship status is stable. All good here.
Like a ping.
Precisely. These little exchanges are often just confirming presence, very transactional. But the real conversation often starts with the question that shows you're actually invested emotionally.
Which is?
How was your day? That question shifts gears from just ritual to actual communication.
Ah, okay. And the words we use to answer that are super revealing. If someone says their day was good, fine, maybe they add a detail like, pretty good, I had a productive meeting.
Right. But the really telling phrases often pop up when things weren't so good.
Yeah, like what?
Well, if a friend says, oh, it was a long day, the smart listener kind of infers tired or stressed, even if those words aren't used.
Right. You read between the lines a bit.
Or it was busy suggests they were maybe rushed off their feet. And if it was just average, they might just say, it was okay, or, the usual.
Nothing special happened.
Okay.
And this brings us to what you said is the most critical part of this level.
Yeah.
The response.
Yes. Listening and responding.
You can't just hear, I had a really long day, and then launch into your own news. That just doesn't work, does it?
No, it really doesn't. That empathetic response is what turns that simple exchange into something emotionally meaningful. It builds the bond.
So what does that look like?
It's about supportive validation. So they say, long day, you respond, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe add a small offer of comfort, want me to make you a cup of tea, something immediate.
That small gesture.
It holds the relationship together much more effectively than, say, just cracking a joke sometimes. And the flip side is true too. If they share good news, like, I got that promotion, you amplify their joy.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. You match their energy.
Exactly. You celebrate with them.
Okay, so that covers the daily rhythm, the check-ins, the basic empathy. But relationships aren't just static, right? We need to do stuff together, make plans. How does the language shift then?
Right. We move into level 2, the language of coordination and soft refusal. Here, efficiency matters when you're just trying to see if someone's free.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, the most direct questions work best. Are you free on Saturday? Or maybe, what are you doing on Saturday?
And you mentioned a green light signal.
Yes. If they reply with something like, oh, I'm not doing anything special, or nothing planned, that's basically your cue. Go ahead and suggest something.
Okay. And the suggestion itself, I like how simple that structure is. It's always, right, let's grab coffee, let's go for a walk. Feels collaborative.
It does. It's inherently inclusive. Now, within this level, there's a really important skill. The polite no.
Ah, the soft refusal. Saying no without causing offense. That's tricky.
It can be. The sources often recommend something called the sandwich method. It's quite a neat little structure, actually. It helps you prioritize the person over the specific plan they suggested.
Okay, break down the sandwich for us. What are the layers?
Sure. Layer 1, positive affirmation. You acknowledge their idea. Layer 2, the soft refusal, usually with a brief, non-confrontational reason. Layer 3, suggest an alternative.
Got it. So if a friend suggests, say, going out late, but I'm exhausted.
You could say, oh, that sounds like fun, but honestly, I'm really wiped tonight. That's layers 1 and 2. How about we aim for brunch tomorrow instead? That's layer 3. You've validated, refused gently, and kept the connection open with a new plan.
Nice. And if it's just a timing clash, like I'm genuinely busy.
Even simpler. A quick apology and alternative works. Sorry, I'm actually busy on Saturday. How about Sunday, though? Keeps the door open.
Makes total sense. Okay, so we've checked in, we've made plans.
Yeah.
Or politely declined them.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the deeper stuff. Level 3, sharing stories and emotional support.
Right. This is where the connection really deepens.
If I've got some really exciting news, how do I share it in a way that grabs their attention? More than just stating the fact.
You build anticipation, use those classic hooks. Guess what? Or even better, you are not going to believe what happened to me today.
Yeah, that definitely makes you lean in.
It frames it as a story, a little narrative puzzle right from the start, guarantees their focus.
And then, when telling the actual story, how do we make it engaging? Avoid just a boring list of this happened and this happened.
Good storytelling relies on flow and a bit of drama. The sources highlight using connector words effectively. Things like suddenly for surprise.
Okay.
At first to set an initial situation, but then to show a change or twist. And finally, in the end, to wrap it up.
That makes sense, gives it shape.
And there's a subtle grammar trick fluent storytellers often use, maybe without even realizing it. They use the past continuous tense like I was walking home to paint the background scene.
Setting the stage.
Exactly. Then they switch to the past simple for the main action that interrupts that scene, when suddenly, this cat ran right out in front of me. It creates a sense of action unfolding.
Cool. And we need emotion, right? Not just facts.
Absolutely. Don't just say the view was nice. Was it breathtaking? Stunning? Use stronger adjectives. And lean into emotional idioms that create instant connection.
Like being over the moon if you're happy.
Exactly. Or feeling gutted if you're disappointed, or relieved when something stressful is over. These paint a much richer emotional picture.
Okay, so that's sharing the good stuff. But what about when a friend is going through something tough? How do we offer support effectively?
It often starts with just noticing. A gentle opening question, nothing too intrusive. Hey, you seem a bit quiet today, or just, is everything okay? It shows you're paying attention.
And then, assuming they open up, what's the next step?
Listening is key. But active listening involves validating their feelings. Use empathy phrases while they talk. Things like, wow, that sounds really difficult, or I can imagine that must be incredibly stressful.
You're reflecting back that you understand the weight of it.
Precisely. And then you can move to offering direct support. The classic "I'm here for you" is powerful, often paired with a practical offer. Is there anything I can do to help?
Sometimes people just need encouragement too, right, if they're lacking confidence.
Definitely. Simple phrases like "you'll be great" or "you've totally got this" can make a real difference.
I also like that the sources mentioned philosophical support, those slightly cliche phrases.
Like "this too shall pass."
Yeah. Or, don't worry, I'm sure it'll all work out in the end. They sound simple, but in moments of real stress, they can be weirdly comforting, can't they?
They absolutely can. They offer perspective, a sense of universality to the struggle. It's like a cultural reset button for anxiety.
Okay. This is all really helpful for navigating those deeper conversations. Now, what about when things get, well, confrontational? Level 4.
Indeed. Level 4, the language of conflict management and subtext. Disagreements happen. It's inevitable in close relationships. The real skill is handling them without damaging the bond, prioritizing the relationship over winning the argument.
That's a big one. So how do we disagree politely but clearly? Is there a go-to phrase?
One really sophisticated structure is, "I see your point, but..."
The classic. Why does that work so well?
Because the first part, "I see your point," is crucial. It's validation. You're acknowledging their perspective, showing respect. Then the word "but" signals the contrast, but you've already softened the ground.
Lowered their defenses a bit.
Exactly. You can also use even softer phrasing. Things like, I'm not sure I see it quite that way, or I guess I take a slightly different view on that.
Using words like quite or slightly to minimize the difference.
Yes. Those softeners are linguistically very effective. They imply a minor adjustment, not a full-blown opposition.
Okay. And what if you just can't agree? You've tried, but you're at an impasse.
Before you just give up, try to find common ground. Even a small point of agreement can help. Okay, well, we might disagree on the plot, but we can both agree the acting was incredible, right?
Find something, anything, you share.
Yeah, and if even that fails and you're just not going to reach consensus, the mature way out is that well-known idiom. Let's just agree to disagree. It acknowledges the difference respectfully and allows you to move on.
Okay, that's handling open disagreement. What about the hidden stuff? Subtext.
Yes, reading between the lines. Understanding the real meaning that isn't explicitly stated, but is maybe hinted at through tone or context or body language.
This feels like advanced social intelligence. But is it always right to call it out? Like your example of a friend saying they're stuffed to politely refuse dessert?
Right, the white lie.
Should I say, oh, come on, you barely ate? Or do I just accept the stuffed comment?
That's the tricky part, isn't it? In that scenario, the social contract is usually to accept the white lie. It saves face for everyone. They implied they didn't want dessert, you inferred it, and you both politely ignore the literal untruth.
Okay, so sometimes we let the subtext slide, but not always.
Not always.
Yeah.
Especially in emotional context, the classic example. A friend who's normally bubbly is quiet, and when you ask what's wrong, they just say, "I'm fine."
But their whole demeanor screams, not fine.
Exactly. They are implying distress. You need to infer the real message behind the words "I'm fine." Taking them literally there would be socially, well, kind of dense.
So the intelligent response isn't to argue with "I'm fine," but to address the implication.
Precisely. You'd say something like, "Are you sure? You seem a little quiet today." You're gently showing you heard the unspoken message. That builds trust. It doesn't break it.
That's a really key distinction. Hearing versus truly listening. Okay, this leads us to the final level, level 5, the really deep stuff.
The deepest connections, values, and boundaries. These are the conversations about life direction, meaning purpose. The philosophical core of a relationship.
So if a friend is talking about a huge life change, like quitting their job to follow a passion, how do we facilitate that conversation beyond just the practicalities?
You guide it towards their core motivations. Don't just ask what they're planning, ask why. A great question is, what's the real driving force behind that decision for you?
Get to the heart of it.
Yeah, and often the answers will involve specific concepts related to identity. You'll hear things like needing the change to align with my core values, or seeking more autonomy, or needing self-expression.
That language signals we're talking about fundamental needs, which brings us to priorities. And that term you mentioned, non-negotiable.
Right. A non-negotiable is a core requirement you simply won't compromise on in a relationship or a life situation. Saying, for instance, for me, honesty is non-negotiable. It's a powerful statement of self-awareness and boundaries.
And incredibly important when values clash, which can happen a lot, especially in families maybe.
Very common. Say a parent values financial security above all, while their adult child prioritizes creative fulfillment. That's a potential clash. Handling it requires assertiveness, but without aggression.
So how do you structure that conversation? It feels high stakes.
It is. The structure is key. First, validate their perspective. Mom, Dad, I understand you see it that way, and I really respect your concern for my security. Acknowledge their values.
Okay, start with understanding.
Then, clearly and calmly assert your own core value. However, for me, at this point in my life, it's more important to pursue something I feel passionate about, something that allows for self-expression. You respect theirs, but you firmly defend yours.
That sounds like a really mature way to handle it. Respectful, but firm.
The sources also touched on some really modern relationship dynamics that require this kind of communication skill.
Like what?
Well, long-distance relationships, for one. The key there is being really intentional about carving out specific time to connect, because you don't have the luxury of casual, spontaneous interaction.
You have to actively maintain it.
And also the idea of chosen family. This is becoming increasingly common, the idea that your core support system might be friends you've selected rather than just biological relatives.
Building your own tribe, essentially.
Exactly. And managing any close relationship, chosen or biological, requires setting healthy boundaries.
Boundaries. Crucial, but often uncomfortable to talk about.
They can be, but they're essential for protecting your own time, energy, and emotional well-being. The trick is to set them assertively, but also positively.
How do you do that? Give us an example.
Okay, let's say you have a relative who drops by unannounced frequently, which disrupts your work from home schedule.
Yeah, tricky one.
You start with affirmation. I absolutely love it when you come visit, and I really cherish our time together. Then state the need clearly and kindly. But it would be really helpful for me and my work if we could maybe plan your visits just a little bit in advance.
Frame it as helpful for you, not as a criticism of them.
Exactly. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about structuring the relationship so it can be sustained healthily without resentment building up.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Okay, so wrapping this all up for you, the listener, we've journeyed from those simple how's it going check-ins right through to navigating subtext, clashing values, setting boundaries, pretty much the whole spectrum of close relationship communication. And the big takeaway seems to be that mastering this kind of intentional, empathetic language isn't just nice to have. It's fundamental for building those deep, supportive, authentic relationships we all crave.
It really is. And perhaps the final thought to leave you with is this. The way we communicate with our friends and family isn't a skill you just learn once and then you're done. No, because life changes, doesn't it? People move, jobs change, we evolve, our values might shift, the world changes around us. So our communication has to constantly adapt too.
Stay flexible.
Exactly. The real challenge, and maybe the real art, is keeping that communication intentional, responsive, and flexible as life unfolds within and around those crucial relationships. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something really practical. We're taking a guide on conversational English for friends and family and distilling it into let's say, a multi-level toolkit for you.
Exactly. Because talking to people you're close to, well, it feels informal, right?
Yeah.
But the skills underneath, they're actually pretty complex, emotionally speaking.
Yeah, it's not just chit-chat.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to find those simple, natural phrases that genuinely build connection. We'll start with the basics, the daily stuff, and move up to the more, sophisticated relationship dynamics.
Right. High-value insights, that's the goal. We've got a clear path. Foundation first, the daily habits, then depth getting into emotional sharing, and finally, sophistication handling things like disagreements, subtext, boundaries. Sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Let's start with that foundation. Building strong relationships, it often comes down to consistent, small interactions.
Like the initial greeting when you see someone.
Precisely. It's less about getting a detailed report and more like a quick check-in, a relational pulse check, if you will.
Okay, I like that framing. So, but out of just, how are you? Maybe something like, how's it going? Or even just, what's up?
Exactly. Those more casual options, they signal closeness. They lower the formality barrier straight away.
So if someone says, how's it going? What's a typical reply?
Oh, Something simple like pretty good, thanks, works perfectly. And for what's up, the classic not much is often just fine. It signals you're open, friendly, but maybe don't need a big conversation right that second.
Okay, so that's the opening. But you mentioned the real conversation starter is different.
Yes. The question that really invites sharing, that shows you genuinely care, is how was your day?
Ah, right. That requires a bit more thought than just fine.
It does. And the answer is where the real connection starts. If it was a good day, maybe it was good. Actually had a really productive meeting at work. You give a little detail.
And if the day was, well, rough, what are the quick ways to signal that?
The classic one is just, oh, it was a long day. And that immediately tells the other person you're tired, maybe stressed.
Okay, a long day.
Right. Or you could say, it was busy, maybe stressful. If it's just average, it was okay. Or it was the usual. Works too.
But the key thing isn't just the words they use, it's how you respond, right?
Absolutely crucial. You have to show you're listening, show empathy. If they say, it was a long day, and you just change the subject, well, that's a misconnection.
So what should you say?
You validate it immediately. If it sounds negative, something like, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. And maybe offer something simple. Can I get you something? Cup of tea?
And if it's good news?
Share the excitement. Wow, that's fantastic news. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You mirror their energy. These little moments, they really define the relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. What about making plans? That's another big part of interacting with friends and family. Checking availability first.
Yes, two main ways. You can ask directly. Are you free on Saturday? Free just meaning available,
Right.
Or a bit more indirectly. What are you doing on Saturday?
And if they say something like, oh, nothing special.
That's your green light. It's usually an invitation to make a suggestion.
And the suggestion itself, keep it simple.
Yeah, the collaborative phrase, let's, is your friend here. Let's go to the park. Let's grab dinner. Simple, direct.
Okay, now the tricky part. Saying no politely. You mentioned a sandwich method.
That's right. It softens the blow. You start positive, state the no or the reason, and then end with a positive alternative.
Let's try an example. Say someone suggests a big group thing, but you're just feeling wiped out, socially drained.
Okay, good one. So start positive. Oh, that sounds like fun, actually. Then the reason rejection. But honestly, work was so intense this week, I'm feeling pretty drained tonight.
Okay.
Then the alternative, how about we just grab a quiet coffee next week sometime? Just us. I'd love to catch up properly then.
Ah, I see. So you validate their idea, explain your need feeling drained, and offer a different way to connect later. That feels much better than just, I'm tired.
Exactly. It respects them and your own needs. And if it's just a scheduling conflict, it's simpler. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually busy Saturday. Then immediately suggest another time. But I'm free Sunday. Would Sunday work?
Great. Okay, so that covers the foundational stuff, the daily interactions, and simple plans.
Right. We've got the basics down. But relationships need more depth, don't they? What about sharing bigger news or supporting someone through a tough time?
Yeah, let's move into that second segment, adding depth through storytelling and support. How do you share good news without just, blurting it out?
You build a little excitement. Use an opener like, guess what? Or, you are not going to believe what happened today.
Ooh, okay. Creates anticipation.
Exactly. It turns a piece of information into a shared moment. And then when you tell the story, don't just list facts. Use linking words.
Like
words like suddenly or, at first I thought, but then, and so in the end, they guide the listener, give the story shape.
And make it more engaging than just bullet points.
Definitely. And use vivid language. Instead of, it was nice, try it was stunning. Instead of big, maybe huge and fluffy, paint a picture for them.
Makes it more memorable. And what about expressing the emotion?
Idioms are great for this. You weren't just happy, you were over the moon. You weren't just relieved, you were so relieved. It adds color.
Got it. And a quick grammar tip was mentioned.
Yes, for storytelling structure. Use the past continuous for the background scene, I was walking down the street, and the past simple for the main actions that interrupts or happen when suddenly this cat jumped out.
Sets the scene, then bam, the event. Okay. Let's switch gears to support. This is huge in close relationships. How do you gently check in if you sense someone's not okay?
You start with a soft observation. Something like, you seem a bit down today. Down being a common informal word for sad or unhappy.
Okay, gentle.
Or even simpler, but really powerful. Is everything okay? It opens the door without being pushy.
Now, the guide says the main role is to listen without interrupting. But, sometimes people do need advice, or maybe a reality check. How do you balance just listening with potentially helping them find a solution?
That's a really important question. The key is timing. You start with pure validation. Let them talk. Use phrases like, wow, that sounds really difficult, or I can imagine how stressful that must be.
So validate first.
Always. If they're angry, you can say you have every right to feel upset. Acknowledge the emotion. After they feel genuinely heard, then you can gently ask something like, are you looking for advice right now, or do you mostly just need to vent?
Okay. That puts the ball in their court. It respects their need at that moment.
Exactly. And if you want to offer concrete support, the core phrase, said sincerely, is powerful.
Which is?
I am here for you. Simple as that. Maybe followed by, let me know if there's anything at all I can do to help. It's about reliability.
And for encouragement. When someone's nervous about something.
Reassurance helps. Don't worry, you'll be great. Or the more informal, empowering, you've got this.
Yeah, like, you've got this.
And if it's a situation they can't really control, sometimes a bit of perspective helps. I'm sure it will all work out in the end. Or that old classic, this too shall pass.
Offers a glimmer of hope, doesn't it? Okay, we've covered foundation and depth. Let's move to the final level. Sophistication. This is about trickier stuff. Disagreements, reading between the lines, values.
Right. Let's start with navigating disagreements politely. The goal isn't to win, it's to maintain the relationship, maintain respect.
So how do you state a different opinion without causing offense?
The key is acknowledging their point first. Use phrases like, I see your point, but, or, I understand where you're coming from, however. That validation upfront is crucial. It shows you listened.
Okay, validate, then state your view, and maybe soften it a bit.
Yes, use subjective language, frame it as your perspective. I'm not sure I quite see it that way, or, I guess I take a slightly different view. Using slightly really helps minimize the clash.
And if you just can't agree,
then the mature thing is to use that phrase, let's agree to disagree. But before you get there, always try to find some common ground, if possible. Okay, maybe we disagree on the plot, but we can both agree the acting was fantastic, right?
keeps things collaborative. Okay, now for something really subtle. Subtext. Reading between the lines.
Ah, yes. Understanding what's not being said. This happens all the time in close relationships. People imply things.
The classic example is someone saying, "I'm fine," when they're clearly not fine at all.
Exactly. We've all done it, haven't we? Said, "I'm fine," when really we mean, "I'm completely overwhelmed." The words say one thing, the tone, the context say another.
And as the listener, you have to infer the real meaning. That inference, that understanding is part of intimacy.
It really is. And we use this indirectness for polite refusals too. Like if someone offers you food you really don't like.
You don't say yuck.
No. Or use a little white lie like, "Oh, thank you, but I'm absolutely stuffed." Or if rejecting a suggestion for an evening out, maybe, I think I'm in the mood for something a bit different tonight. It's softer.
Okay, and just to be clear on the terms, the speaker implies something indirectly.
And the listener infers the hidden meaning. Getting that distinction helps when you're analyzing communication.
Very useful. Okay, last big topic in sophistication. Discussing deeper things like values, priorities, life changes.
Right. When a friend is talking about a major decision like changing careers, you need questions that go deeper. Not just, "Oh, cool," but maybe, what's the real driving force behind that decision for you?
That prompts them to think about their motivations. Maybe use terms like self-expression or autonomy, or whether something aligns with their core values.
Exactly. And speaking of core values, defining your own non-negotiables is really important for self-awareness.
Explain non-negotiables quickly.
It's basically a principle or a need that you won't compromise on. It could be honesty in a relationship, needing time alone, needing access to nature, something fundamental to your well-being.
Knowing these helps avoid conflict later, I imagine. What if values clash, say, between a parent and child?
Then you need language that's both assertive and respectful. For example, the child might say, "Mom, Dad, I truly appreciate your concern about my financial security. I really do. But for me, pursuing work that allows for creative self-expression is absolutely non-negotiable right now."
Firm, but acknowledges their perspective.
Yeah.
Very skillful. We also touched on modern relationship dynamics.
Yes, things like needing to be really intentional about carving out time for long-distance friends or family. And the idea of a chosen family.
Which is?
Your chosen support system. People who function as your family based on love and mutual support, not necessarily blood ties. It's an empowering concept for many.
It is. And all this talk of values and respect leads naturally to our final point. setting boundaries.
Crucial. Boundaries aren't about being difficult. They're about communicating your needs clearly to protect your own well-being. And, importantly, they prevent resentment from building up.
So how do you state a boundary clearly but politely? Let's use the example of wanting visits planned in advance.
Okay. Start positive. I absolutely love it when you come visit, you know that. Then state the need, focusing on your situation. But my schedule has been so unpredictable lately, it would be a huge help for me if we could try and plan visits at least, say, a week ahead.
Okay, so the focus is on me and my needs, making it less like a criticism of them.
Exactly. It's about clear, kind communication. So we've covered quite a journey today.
We really have. From those simple daily check-ins and making plans,
Through sharing stories and offering genuine emotional support.
all the way to navigating disagreements, understanding subtext, and articulating core values and boundaries. It's a pretty comprehensive toolkit.
The goal really with all of this is fostering deeper understanding, building relationships that feel authentic, supportive, and, built to last.
Absolutely. Okay, time for that final provocative thought.
Right. So we've talked a lot about stating our own non-negotiables clearly and about listening with empathy. Here's something to think about. When you're really listening to a friend, their stories, their struggles, their dreams, what unspoken non-negotiables about their happiness or their needs can you perhaps infer? What are they protecting, maybe even without saying it directly, even when they just say, oh, I'm fine?
That requires a different level of listening, doesn't it? Food for thought. Now go have a meaningful conversation. Thanks for diving deep with us today.